Hey folks, thanks for joining us again. My name is Adrian San Miguel. I'm a principal partner enterprise architect with our strategic partnership group at AWS. I'm joined by my colleague, Dave DeLuca. Say hi, Dave.
Hi, everyone. David DeLuca. I'm a senior storage solutions architect here at AWS.
Thanks so much. And it's a pretty awesome day today. Today we're joined by Dev. Say hi, Dev.
Hi everyone, my name is Dev Kumar. I'm a product manager on Amazon S3.
Now today's a pretty exciting day for us, isn't it, Dev? Can you elaborate a little more on why?
Absolutely. It's really very exciting and thanks for having me here. Today we have announced the general availability of our new open source file client that delivers high throughput access to Amazon S3. It's called Mountpoint for Amazon S3. Using Mountpoint for Amazon S3, you can mount an S3 bucket on your compute instance and access the elastic storage and throughput of Amazon S3 using a file system interface. We announced, or rather introduced Mountpoint for Amazon S3 a few months back on Pi Day, and since then we have had a number of feature requests from customers and we received a lot of feedback. Using this feedback and working backwards from these requirements, we have added a few new features to Mountpoint for Amazon S3. For example, we have added support for creating new files. We have added support for creating new files in specific storage classes, and we have added support for the file delete operations. So indeed, it's super exciting working in the open and working backwards from customer requirements.
Well, congratulations. It's great to see our customer-first approach in action with continued enhancements happening from Mountpoint for Amazon S3. So what are the typical use cases for it? And can you show us how it works?
Of course. So Mountpoint for Amazon S3 can be used for a variety of use cases. Some of the common use cases that customers have shared with us include machine learning training, reprocessing and validation in autonomous vehicle data processing, genomics analysis, and image rendering. These workloads share similar characteristics. They read large data sets over several compute instances and benefit from Amazon S3's high elastic throughput when they scale up and down over thousands of instances. While they read large files over many instances at a time, when writing to a file, they write sequentially from a single process or thread. That's why they are such a great match for S3's existing APIs and the elastic throughput it offers.
Yeah, I'd say so. And that's quite fantastic, Dev. Really excited to hear that. And what do you think, Dave? We'd love to see Mountpoint in action if we could. But before we get into that, can you share a little bit more about how it's built?
Yep, would love to. We have built Mountpoint using three foundational technologies. First, Mountpoint builds on the same AWS Common Runtime, or CRD, used by most AWS SDKs. The CRD is purpose-built for high performance and low resource usage to make the most efficient use of your compute resources. Second, Mountpoint is built in the Rust programming language. Yeah, we use Rust because we get strong memory safety guarantees and a rich type system without paying the cost of language runtime or garbage collector to enforce those guarantees. And third, we make use of automated reasoning. Engineers across S3 use automated reasoning to mathematically define the behavior of key systems and then formally demonstrate that our implementations meet these requirements. For Mountpoint, we use automated reasoning to validate the file system semantics offered when mounting an S3 bucket.
That's excellent. And I can't wait to see how it works now.
Sure. So let's take a look at Mountpoint for Amazon S3 in action. So here I have Mountpoint already installed on my EC2 instance. And the first thing I would do is create a new directory where I'm going to mount my S3 bucket. Just calling it mntdir. Next, I'm going to run the mount command to mount my S3 bucket at this location that I just created. Now let's run the tree command, and you would see the contents of my S3 bucket presented in a directory structure. Mountpoint basically creates this directory structure based on the names of the S3 objects. And now that I can access it as a local file system, I can run standard Linux commands. For example, I can run tar command to create an archive file using the content in my S3 bucket, which is mounted at this location. So let's call it test.gz. And I'm just going to use a bunch of PDFs I have in my bucket location. And I'm just going to create this test.gz file using the tar command. So when I run this command, Mountpoint will be streaming the objects So let me just press enter, and now it's streaming these objects from Amazon S3. And you saw I didn't have to download them up front. When you are working with like millions and billions of files, this really saves a lot of compute costs for customers. Now, let me quickly verify that the test.gz file got created and this command ran properly. So let's just do a start.gz and yeah, okay, cool. So there we have the test.gz file. Next, I'm going to write this file to an S3 bucket. I'm going to be using the cp command to write it to this mount location. Now let's quickly verify that it actually got written. So I'm just going to run the AWS CLI. I'm going to list the object key that corresponds to the file that I just wrote. And I should be able to see that that Mountpoint actually writes it to the S3 bucket that's mounted here. So there it is. So we could read and write objects from Amazon S3 bucket while it was mounted here. Let me quickly run another tool, which is often used by our customers for their specific business use cases. So I'm just going to run a ffmpeg. And today I'm just going to downscale an existing object that I have in Amazon S3 bucket. This is basically a recording of one of our reInvent sessions, and I'm just going to scale it down using ffmpeg, let's say to 4A80 to 320, and just save the results locally. And again, when I run this command, Mountpoint will stream this object, and as you saw, I didn't really have to download it for accessing it in my local file system. So it should finish in just a little bit, and I should be able to see the result file. So let me quickly list it here. I think it was an MP4. So yeah, let me just list the MP4 file. So there it is. Thus, we saw that we could mount an S3 bucket and access it as a local file system, run standard Linux command, as well as a business-specific tool. Super easy to get started with. Once I'm done, I'm just unmounting my bucket, and then I can use this directory for any other purpose. So that was a quick demo, hopefully useful.
That is amazing, Dev. I got to say, and it certainly scratched the itch I have as an inner secret reformed Linux nerd. But a little bit on the curious side, when should customers be considering Mountpoint for Amazon S3 versus any of the other AWS storage services, say like an Amazon FSx or Lustre?
That's a really important question. With Mountpoint, you get S3's native performance, and it supports file system operations that can be efficiently implemented with S3's existing APIs. It doesn't try to emulate POSIX file system features that have no close analog in S3's object APIs. So while it supports random and sequential read operations and sequential write operations for creating new files, it doesn't support shared file system features like file locking and POSIX style permissions. If you have applications that need to coordinate across instances and users and require these shared file system features, you should use one of our file system services, and Amazon FSx for Lustre works really well with Amazon S3 for these use cases.
Thanks.
I see. So what does it cost to get started with this cool new feature?
That's one of the best parts. There is no additional charge for using Mountpoint for Amazon S3. You pay for S3 API requests such as get, put, and list requests made by Mountpoint when you run file system operations such as file read, file write, and directory listing operations.
That's pretty awesome, I got to say. But I guess the meat on the matter is, what else can you tell us? Any additional intel? Can you give us an idea what's coming up on roadmap?
Well, I'm super glad you brought that up, because 90% of our roadmap comes from customer feedback. And we are hearing new cases, new use cases, and new applications for Mountpoint for Amazon S3 every few days. These present new opportunities for us as well as new challenges. Please come and check out our GitHub page using this QR code that you have on screen and contribute your feedback. We'll continue to share what we are working on through our public roadmap and continue enhancing Mountpoint by including customer feedback, code contributions, and guidance. And we really look forward to your guidance and contributions as we evolve it.
And we're really looking forward to seeing what's coming next. And thank you very much for stopping by, Dev.
Thanks for having me here.
Thanks, Dev.